And I want to bring in CNN's Jamie Gangel to talk a little bit about that. Nancy Pelosi has just endorsed Kamala Harris in her presidential run, and it seems like she may be not the last when it comes to either former or current congressional leaders.
So I think we're going to see today the trifecta of Democratic leaders. We just heard Nancy Pelosi, former speaker. I am told by multiple sources that as soon as today, and I would guess today, we're going to see Senator Schumer on the Senate side, leader there, and Hakeem Jeffries on the House side. That would leave just Barack Obama as the only sort of major party leader. But I think what's important is you are seeing an avalanche of support. The party is coalescing. They did not want a messy, multi-candidate, speed dating, quick primary going into this convention. And even I think people who were concerned about whether Vice President Harris could beat Donald Trump have decided the party has to come together and go all in.
It is remarkable, too, to see some of these names that you've reported, Jamie, that are being floated as potential vice presidential picks that could have potentially challenged her. And that we are, 24 hours barely, 24 hours. And to see them almost all come out and endorse her and just make it very clear, we're not doing this.
I can't think of anyone who's on the likely list that's been floating, and even those who might be less likely who have not already endorsed her. We had 3 of the 4 yesterday. That was North Carolina Governor Cooper. We had Mark Kelly, Senator from Arizona, Josh Shapiro, Governor of Pennsylvania. Then today, Andy Beshear, Governor of Kentucky. Those are the 4 names you hear most often. They have all endorsed her. Illinois Governor Pritzker endorsed her today. And so I will tell you, I'm not completely surprised about the Pelosi endorsement because a couple of hours ago, her daughter Christine endorsed. When you have Adam Schiff yesterday, who's very close to Pelosi endorsing, and Christine Pelosi today, you know it was coming.
You can read those tea leaves. Yeah.
The calculus from those in the party, from the party, is that something really messy is going to be worse than getting accused of clearing the field for someone. Talk a little bit about how they're thinking about that, as some people may argue they're denying there being a lot of different choices and people actually being able to pick and choose.
Right. So the word coronation has been thrown around a little bit. I think that that's really code for something else, and that was there were skeptics. There are people who were not sure that Vice President Harris would be the strongest candidate to take on Donald Trump. And so there was an argument, let's have an open field, let's see who's out there. But when you are 4 weeks away from a convention, and I spoke to someone who is working on the videos for that convention yesterday, and I said, how's it going? And the source said, well, the message is the same, but we don't know who we're making the videos about, who are the names. The Democratic Party is known for messy. That's not, but I think this time they don't feel that they are running against a, quote, normal Republican candidate. Someone said to me, this is not Mitt Romney, this is Donald Trump. The source said to me, democracy in peril is not a campaign slogan. And so there was this tug in the party. Do we open it up and see if there might be someone stronger? Or do we coalesce? Is Vice President Harris the best one? In 24 hours, with all the money that's been raised and this flood of endorsements, they've been very disciplined.
That's what I wanted to ask you about, because it's nearly $50 million in small dollar donations. These are not mega donors. These were small dollar donations they can, in theory, go back to again. For her to get that sort of support, grassroots support, how much of that played in to her convincing perhaps maybe some people who were skeptical?
So money plays a role in the party. Our colleague Pamela Brown and I did a story yesterday about big donors, mega donors, who said they were going all in. One donor said to me, I'm going in big, emphasize big. So they know she's someone who can raise money. But I also think at the end of the day, we can't ignore that she was the vice president. She is part of the Biden-Harris team. And there's also the structure of that campaign that she can inherit.
And so now it is the Veep stakes. I mean, there is some mystery to what comes next, and that is that would be if you expect that she is overwhelmingly likely to be the nominee, who then is going to be on the ticket with her?
So what we keep hearing, we started yesterday, 4 names being floated. They all have one thing in common. They are white men. I think that the party feels that for balance and for swing states, battleground states, they need that kind of balance. And the 4 are Senator Mark Kelly of Arizona, who I'm told Vice President Harris knows very well and likes very much. That's certainly a swing state. And then you have Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, North Carolina Governor Roy Cooper, and Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro. That doesn't mean that there might be someone else, but those were the 4 names that are being floated as really the leading contenders.
Let's bring in David Axelrod. I believe he's here with us, of course, a former advisor to former President Barack Obama. David, great to have you here. We're getting this great reporting from Jamie Gangel, who's sitting here with us, that we're expected as always, great reporting, that's right, that we're expecting to hear these endorsements from Chuck Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries as soon as today. We just got this endorsement from Nancy Pelosi. There are still eyes on the former President Obama. What might be going through his head right now as all of these pieces start to appear to settle into place?
Well, I haven't spoken to him today, so let me be clear. I'm not speaking for him. But, you know, he has made clear that he wants to play the role that he's played before, which is to help pull the party together. He didn't want to put his finger on the scale of the choice that the party itself would make. But you know, what's very clear now is, you know, there used to be, Jessica, a Speaker of the House in Illinois years ago, who when a legislative deal was coming together, he would say, I can smell the meat a-cooking. Well, the meat's a-cooking and the deal is done. And I think that, you know, President Obama, you know, is aware of that. And I'm sure that he'll have something to say soon because this decision is made. Every single person who was considered a potential candidate other than Kamala Harris has now endorsed her. Nancy Pelosi obviously had been a proponent of a kind of competition for this among some of those contenders, has now endorsed her. I mean, you know, you don't have to be a political genius to understand what's going on here.
Totally.
What would have happened, David, if there were more options for people, which I think ultimately, in the absence of there being a President Biden running for re-election, a decision that probably some voters wish had been made instead a while ago, that they would have actually had more choices? What would have happened if they had that at this point in time?
Well, I think you would have had a robust competition. The Democratic Party has a lot of talent, and some of them were just on the screen of that list of potential vice presidential candidates that Jamie Gangel shared with you. And so I think you would have seen some of those people and others in an open competition. But that's not where we are right now. And the vice president has great advantages, not just internally, but also in terms of the experience of 3.5 years of being vice president, that in this short time frame, you know, made it a pretty obvious decision. So, yeah, I mean, we can go back in the Wayback Machine and ask what would have happened, but what's happened now is a coalescence around her, and honestly, a great deal of enthusiasm and excitement that I've seen. You know, I just think there's a sense of relief. A day ago, there was a sense of despair, and today there's a sense of possibility and excitement, and you know, that's all you can ask for at this juncture. A lot of work for her to do ahead of this, you know, after this. This is just the beginning, and the first order of business in some ways is maybe picking this VP, because if they do an early endorsement by virtual endorsement in the next week, they're going to need a ticket. So I would expect that we'd get a pretty quick answer on the vice presidential nomination.